Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first AI to automate 80% of customer service by 2029, sparking an EU push for a right to a human by 2028. We'll explore how this clash between automation and regulation could create a two-tiered system for customer support and impact global economies. Second, Microsoft's AI chief warns against building conscious AI, creating a morality moat to compete with OpenAI and Meta. In this episode, we'll break down this strategic pivot and what it signals for the future of AGI development and enterprise AI adoption. Third, $15 billion deal approved for Microsoft to export top-tier Nvidia AI chips to the UAE, reshaping U.S tech export policy. This discussion will reveal how Microsoft is acting as a trusted wrapper for US export controls and what this means for global AI competition. Fourth, an AI-powered app in South Africa is fighting femicide with a digital aunt, but now faces an ethical crisis as abusers seek its help. So we'll discuss why this unexpected use case matters and what it means for the ethics of AI development and platform liability. Fifth, Baidu's Robotaxi service hits 250,000 weekly rides, matching Waymo's scale and escalating the U.S China autonomous driving race. We'll analyse why this milestone is a turning point and how China's regulatory environment could affect global competitive dynamics for driverless tech. A bombshell prediction just dropped. By 2029, AI will autonomously resolve 80% of all common customer service issues. That's 8 out of every 10 problems solved without ever talking to a person. But the race to get there is creating absolute chaos. One delivery company, DPD, had to disable its AI chatbot after it started swearing at users and openly criticizing the company. Another firm's bot showed a customer proof of their missing package delivered to the wrong house, then ended the conversation. But what you don't see on the surface is the invisible army of human workers, often called data janitors, who train these AI systems. They perform what's known as ghost work, labeling data, cleaning up information, and constantly refining the knowledge base the AI relies on. In reality, the AI is often just a front for this hidden human labor, and when that data is messy or incomplete, you get bots that swear. So why are companies pushing through the mess? The numbers are staggering. Software giant Salesforce claims it has already cut $100 million in customer service costs using its new AI. A while back, we noted that Salesforce's own CEO, Mark Benioff, was even more direct, confirming about 4,000 customer support cuts and saying he needs less heads with AI. So when you hear that savings figure, remember the human denominator baked into it. And it isn't only support. We previously highlighted a survey showing over a third of companies are already using AI in compliance with efficiency as the headline motive. And pay attention to the language they use next. Continuing our last discussion about companies using the AI narrative to signal their high tech, think Klarna's deep cuts and Lufthansa's longer term reductions. Salesforce claims it redeployed workers after making those cuts. But what does redeployment actually mean for a call center employee? The reality is it can go one of two ways. Some companies, like IKEA, are actually investing in upskilling, training thousands of their call center staff to become higher paid interior design advisors. But for other companies, it's a different story. The e-commerce firm Dukan, for example, replaced 90% of its support staff with a chatbot, slashing its cost by 85%. So when you hear redeployment, you have to ask, is it retraining for a better job or is it just a temporary stop before the next wave of automation? And remember, we told you JP Morgan's finance chief has already asked managers to avoid hiring as AI rolls out the quieter alternative to layoffs. And it says 94% of its customers are choosing to interact with the AI agents when given the choice. To make it work, they're even training the AI to show sympathy and not to freeze up when a customer mentions a competitor like Microsoft. Here's where it gets interesting. This is the start of an engineered empathy arms race. Companies are now trying to technically define and optimize a human emotion. It's not just about polite keywords. They are using conversational designers to teach the AI to mirror human empathetic tones. The ethical line here is incredibly blurry. Are you getting helpful simulation or are you being emotionally manipulated? We see this in therapeutic chatbots where users can form genuine emotional attachments to an AI, a phenomenon known as a parasocial relationship. We're on the verge of creating AI that we can form one-sided emotional bonds with. A while back, we warned that code is moving into seats. Regulators specifically wanted humans to occupy. Engineered empathy pushes that boundary from oversight into emotion. This all leads to a stark warning from the CEO of Tata Consultancy Services, who says AI may soon mean there is a minimal need for call centers. Earlier, we noted research showing direct layoff impact had been limited so far, but between Benioff's support cuts and hiring freezes at big banks, the direction of travel is getting harder to ignore. And this isn't just about a few jobs, it's about geopolitics. For decades, Western companies have offshored call center work to countries like India and the Philippines. The business process outsourcing, or BPO, industry in the Philippines alone employs 1.7 million people and makes up nearly 9% of the entire country's GDP. An IMF study warns that almost 90% of those jobs are now vulnerable. This technology threatens to pull the economic rug out from under entire nations. But as 85% of service leaders explore this tech, the core conflict remains. Can an AI ever be empathetic enough to handle a debt problem or a mortgage application? A backlash is already forming against that question. As companies push for full automation, governments are pushing back. The European Union is now predicted to mandate a right to talk to a human as part of its consumer protection rules by 2028. Continuing our previous discussion, that's regulators trying to reclaim the very seat we've seen software slide into. The outcome of this struggle sets up a potential battleground over what customer service looks like in the future. Will this right to a human be universal, or will it become a premium paid service? We could be heading toward a two-tiered system where only those who can afford it get to speak to a person while everyone else is stuck in an automated loop. And if code stands in for people who is actually minding the store, the question is, how do you even enforce that, right, when companies are financially incentivized to keep you away from their most expensive resource? Another human being. We were just talking about companies trying to engineer empathy into AI, but believe it or not, one of the biggest players in the game is now drawing a hard line in the sand. Microsoft's AI chief just went on the record with a bombshell directive for AI developers: stop. He says a specific kind of research is work that people should not be doing. That's Mustafa Suleyman, the man Microsoft brought in-house in a deal worth $650 million to lead its consumer AI division. And the context of that $650 million deal is crucial. It wasn't just a simple hire. It was what the industry calls an acqui-hire. Microsoft didn't just get Suleyman. They hired almost his entire 70-person staff from his previous company, Inflection AI, and licensed their technology. This is part of a huge trend where tech giants are consolidating the world's top AI talent, raising serious questions about whether independent AI labs can even survive. A while back, we said this move signaled Microsoft wasn't content to be a passenger. It wanted its own engine, not just a rental from partners. Today's statement shows what that engine is pointed at, a very specific vision of what AI should and shouldn't try to be. His target? Anyone trying to build seemingly conscious AI? Suleyman calls it the totally wrong question, declaring that it would be absurd to pursue research that investigates that question because they're not and they can't be conscious. Philosophically, he's anchoring this in biological naturalism, the view that only biological beings can be conscious. He argues that consciousness is exclusive to biological beings. An AI can simulate sadness, but it doesn't actually feel it. It doesn't have a pain network. It is just a simulation. Now, get this. There are actual scientific theories about how to measure consciousness. One is called integrated information theory, or IIT. It proposes that consciousness is a measure of how integrated a system's information is. The problem, calculating this for a massive AI, is almost computationally impossible. So when Suleyman says an AI can't be conscious, he's leaning on the fact that by our best scientific measures, these systems don't have the architecture for it. They're just incredibly sophisticated mimics. We previously analysed how these measurement problems keep moving the goalposts. His point is to stop chasing the mirage and focus on useful, controllable systems. This public stance, it's no accident. It's a deliberate strategy. A while back, we noted the battle lines forming. OpenAI teased Search GPT, a direct shot at Microsoft's core business, while Microsoft began publicly testing its own homegrown models to power Copilot, reducing reliance on OpenAI. By publicly rejecting the idea of AI creatures, Microsoft is building what some are calling a morality moat. They are positioning themselves as the safe, reliable AI as a tool provider for serious enterprise, government, and education clients who are terrified of the risks of emotional, unpredictable AI. This allows competitors like Meta to chase the consumer companion market, while Microsoft aims to become the default for the business world. It also highlights a growing tension in the industry. Suleyman was hired as part of a mission to make Microsoft self-sufficient in AI, even as it maintains a massive partnership with OpenAI. So the thing is, this reveals a deep philosophical rift. OpenAI, led by Sam Altman, is famously dedicated to building artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Suleyman's public skepticism is a direct shot across the bow at that mission. Continuing our last discussion, remember, OpenAI has contracted to purchase up to $250 billion of Azure capacity, yet Microsoft no longer holds the right of first refusal as OpenAI's primary compute provider. OpenAI is diversifying. Microsoft has even formally listed OpenAI as a competitor. What's new is that Microsoft isn't just hedging with infrastructure and models, it's staking an ideological position that gives it an off-ramp from AGI maximalism and a narrative that plays well with cautious buyers. Think Apple and Samsung's co-opetition, partners, suppliers, and rivals often all at once. In a moment of supreme irony, Suleyman revealed that one of Microsoft's new AI features recently roasted him, calling him the ultimate bundle of contradictions for warning of AI's dangers while simultaneously accelerating its development at one of the world's biggest tech companies. A while back, we said the AI arms race is measured in megawatts, not headlines. That scale explains both the dependence and the rivalry you're seeing, because whoever controls capacity and trust wins. Suleyman admitted he felt seen by the AI, acknowledging that the technology itself is a contradiction, and he leaves us with this final chilling thought about the power he is helping to build. If you're not afraid by it, you don't really understand it. You should be afraid by it. The fear is healthy. Skepticism is necessary. We don't need unbridled accelerationism. Speaking of Microsoft's strategic chess moves, the company just made a huge one on the global stage. A deal was just approved that will pour over $15 billion and a mountain of America's most advanced AI chips into the United Arab Emirates. A while back, we said this race is measured in megawatts, not headlines, and Washington just put policy weight behind that scale. However, if you zoom out, you'll see this deal didn't happen in a vacuum. The UAE's AI firm, G42, had to make a huge pivot away from Chinese technology to make this happen. US officials were concerned about G42's ties to companies like Huawei. So, to get this green light, G42 divested its holdings in Chinese tech firms and stripped out Chinese hardware from its systems. This was a massive strategic shift. Continuing our last discussion about safeguards and supply chains, the situation this time is different because the pivot is effectively baked into the export approval itself. Microsoft just confirmed it secured export licenses from the U.S. Commerce Department to ship cutting-edge Nvidia chips directly to the Gulf nation, a move set to supercharge the UAE's artificial intelligence ambitions. And the numbers here are staggering. The licenses authorise the shipment of the equivalent of over 60,400 of Nvidia's A100 chips, and even includes the company's more advanced GB300 GPUs. This isn't a trickle of technology. It's a fire hose. A while back, we talked about Samsung's plan to buy 50,000 of Nvidia's top-tier GPUs for its AI mega factory. This single approval rivals that kind of scale, and access to the GB300 is a game changer. We're not just talking about a slightly faster chip. The GB300 platform is a monster, offering up to 1.5 times the performance of its predecessor for training AI models. Access to this state-of-the-art hardware could allow the UAE to leapfrog the AI capabilities of many other nations, even some in Europe. As we've discussed before, scale not promises decides who ships, but the hardware is just the beginning. Microsoft also announced it's boosting its total investment in the UAE to an astronomical $15.2 billion by the end of the decade. This isn't just a sale, it's a deep strategic partnership. A few days ago, we mentioned Microsoft testing its own homegrown models and OpenAI diversifying providers. Today, the focus shifts to building sovereign scale capacity in strategic regions to keep Azure at the center. This decision reveals a new model for how America exports sensitive tech. Microsoft isn't just a seller here, it's acting as a licensed intermediary. They are creating a trusted wrapper around the hardware. By running everything through their cloud infrastructure, Microsoft effectively becomes a deputized enforcer of US export controls, ensuring the technology is used securely and responsibly. We previously analyzed how Microsoft's role in AI was evolving from partner to platform governor. This is that theory operationalized. That massive figure includes a $1.5 billion equity investment directly into the UAE's AI firm G42. It also includes more than $5.5 billion in capital to expand Microsoft's own AI and cloud infrastructure in the region. Remember when we said the industry's new baseline is defined by colossal capacity commitments like OpenAI's multi-$100 billion Azure deal? Moves like this are how Microsoft justifies and localizes that build out, even as partners hedge. In a statement, Microsoft said the goal is to provide access to advanced AI models from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Microsoft itself. They are building an entire AI ecosystem from the ground up with American technology at its core. We previously noted Anthropic's push for massive TPU access and Microsoft's parallel effort to reduce reliance on any single model provider. Today's update positions Azure as the neutral aggregation layer despite intensifying co-opetition. Microsoft President Brad Smith went on the record telling CNBC this is about more than just business. He said, "We're really investing in trust, framing the deal as a combination of technology, talent, and trust coming together." Now, this idea of trust is critical, but it's also complicated because the UAE has a known history of using technology for state surveillance. So how can Microsoft ensure this incredibly powerful AI isn't used to enhance social control? The answer, according to them, lies in what's being called the Safeguard Blueprint. This is a detailed agreement worked out with both the US and UAE governments that includes strict legal and technical guardrails. It even involves setting up a responsible AI foundation to promote ethical standards. The goal is to balance innovation with security, but it's a high-stakes experiment. And as we said a while back, when the frontier is moving this fast, governance becomes part of the product. The bottom line is this. The United States has officially greenlit a multi-billion-dollar plan executed by Microsoft to equip the United Arab Emirates with one of the most powerful AI arsenals on the planet, fundamentally reshaping the global technology landscape. It's another sign of Nvidia's continued dominance and of Microsoft's strategy to turn capacity, compliance, and cloud into a single exportable package. We've been talking about billion-dollar deals and geopolitical strategy, but AI's impact is also profoundly personal. Let's go to South Africa, where a story begins with a decision that caught everyone by surprise. A woman's pregnant cousin was brutally murdered, her body dumped on a highway, and the reason that crime never made the news is absolutely chilling. According to the victim's cousin, Leonora Tima, the sheer volume of these cases in South Africa is so high that a single death like this doesn't qualify as news. In a country with a femicide rate 5 times the global average, where an average of 7 women were killed every day, Tima decided to fight back, not with protests, but with code. She created an app called Grit with a built-in AI chatbot named Zuzi. It's designed to be a digital aunt figure, a safe, non-judgmental space for women to get help. So to create a digital aunt, it's not just a standard chatbot. Developers use a technique called fine-tuning. They take a powerful AI and train it on massive data sets of empathetic, supportive conversations. This teaches the AI, Zuzi in this case, to listen, show comfort, and respond in a way that is culturally specific and trauma-informed, rather than just giving generic robotic answers. And the demand is staggering. The app already has 13,000 users and fielded 10,000 requests for help in a single month. It has 2 killer features. First, a panic button that records 20 seconds of audio and alerts a private rapid response team. And the reason a private team is used, not the public police, well, that exposes a massive shift happening in South Africa. Public trust in the police has plummeted, with some reports showing only 22% of citizens trust them. In response, the private security industry has exploded. There are now over 600,000 active private security personnel in the country, massively outnumbering the police force. So for an app that needs to promise a fast, reliable response, bypassing the Australian public system and going private is seen as the only viable option. Second, a secure digital vault where users can encrypt and store evidence of abuse, photos, screenshots, and recordings, protecting it from being deleted by an abuser. But just having that evidence isn't enough for it to be used in court. It has to be legally admissible. In South Africa, the law allows for digital evidence, but the burden of proof is huge. The app has to guarantee something called the chain of custody, proving the evidence hasn't been tampered with from the moment it was recorded to the moment it's presented to a judge. Any break in that chain and a judge could throw it all out. So that vault isn't just for storage. It's a critical part of a legal strategy. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. In a twist no one saw coming, the chatbot isn't just being used by victims. Perpetrators, men struggling with anger issues, are now messaging the AI aunt, asking it how to get help. This unexpected use case opens up a profound ethical minefield. The AI was built to support victims, not counsel abusers. What happens if it gives bad advice? Who is liable? This isn't happening in a vacuum. Other emotional support AIs are facing the exact same dilemma. It forces developers to ask a terrifying question. Should an AI designed to create a safe space for one group even be allowed to engage with the very people who make that space necessary? As the creator says, people like talking to AI because they don't feel judged by it. This entire project exposes a massive conflict at the heart of technology. A 2018 report found only 22% of AI professionals are women. Tima is clear that for AI to solve real-world violence, it can't just be built by one demographic. In her words, AI, as we know it now, has been built with historic data that centers the voices of men, and white men in particular. The final takeaway is that to change the world with technology, we first have to change who gets to build it. From a life-saving app with 13,000 users, we now pivot to an industry where scale is measured in the millions. A Chinese tech giant just dropped a number that puts it on a direct collision course with America's leader in self-driving cars. Baidu has announced its fully driverless Robotaxi service, Apollo Go, is now completing 250,000 rides every single week. That number is an absolute bombshell because it's on par with the exact same figure Alphabet's Waymo reported for its US operations. The rivalry between US and Chinese tech in artificial intelligence and autonomous driving just hit a new level. The situation, however, presents a fascinating duality. Are we truly comparing apples to apples here? A ride in Baidu's main city of Wuhan is very different from a ride in Waymo's core market of Phoenix. Wuhan is a megacity, known for its incredibly dense urban environment and complex, often chaotic traffic. Nailing a driverless ride, there is a massive technical challenge. By comparison, many of Waymo's routes in Phoenix are on wider, more predictable suburban roads. So while the numbers are the same, the operational complexity Baidu is handling at scale is something we have to pay attention to. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the speed of this surge. Just last quarter, Baidu was averaging about 169,000 rides a week based on its reported figures. Now they've jumped to 250,000. This incredible speed isn't just about better technology. After all, it's about strategy. Baidu is benefiting from China's centralized, top-down regulatory environment. The government can greenlight massive testing zones like the 3,000 square kilometer area in Wuhan with a speed that's unimaginable in the United States. In the US, companies like Waymo have to navigate a complex patchwork of separate rules for every city and state. China is essentially using its policy as a strategic tool to accelerate its industry and try to win this race. And this isn't just a battle on home turf. While Waymo primarily operates in American cities like San Francisco and Phoenix, Baidu is expanding its footprint with aggressive global ambition. After establishing dominance in major Chinese hubs like Wuhan and Beijing, its Apollo Go service is now pushing into Hong Kong, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and even Switzerland. What this reveals is not just a commercial expansion, it's a geopolitical move. By partnering with established local companies, like the National Postal Service's bus system in Switzerland, Baidu is strategically placing its technology to become the global standard before US firms can get there. They're building trust and navigating local regulations in key markets to create a worldwide footprint. With this explosive growth, the question of safety is critical. Baidu disclosed its safety record, reporting on average one airbag deployment incident for every 10.1 million kilometers driven. After logging 240 million kilometers on the road, the company states it has had no major accidents involving human injury or death. So what does that safety number really mean? Baidu's metric of airbag deployment incidents is a very specific, and some would say limited, way of looking at safety. It doesn't tell us about other collisions or near misses. When we place Baidu's metric alongside US requirements, the contradiction becomes clear. Regulators here require Waymo to provide much more comprehensive data, reporting on all police-reported crashes and all injury-causing crashes, showing an 85% reduction in injuries compared to human drivers. Without a global standard for safety reporting, it's incredibly difficult to truly compare the safety records of these two giants. The message is clear. The global race for autonomous driving dominance is no longer a one-horse race. With Baidu now operating at the same scale as Waymo, the competition for leadership in advanced AI and driverless technology has officially entered a new high-stakes chapter.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.